Almost a week into spring training, we've had highs and lows and everything in between. Are the Angels the only ones working the rust off so far?
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and the #1 sports podcast network in all the land.
We appreciate you being here for this Friday episode of Locked On Angels. You've got the Frisch brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John. John, did you see everydayer Landon Crouch sang the national anthem yesterday?
I missed it.
At Tempe Diablo for the Angels. He got to sit for at least one inning with his son right behind Kurt Suzuki. I asked him, were you whispering in his ear, telling him what to do? And he said, no, they moved us right after I got done singing. So he also said it was Artie's row. And I said, did you whisper anything into Artie's ear? And he said, no, Artie wasn't there.
Come on.
But he crushed
awesome.
it. He did awesome. And so we're thankful for him.
That's rad. Congrats to Landon for being able to do that. Of course, he's done that many times at Angel Stadium as well. Hey, we're talking Angels baseball with you 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, every single weekday. Of course, we hope you leave here a more informed Angels fan. You feel good about your team after the conversation. Well, your knowledge of the team after the conversation, and once they feel good about the team in general. But Mike, on today's show, what makes an ace, and why did I say that George Klassen could be one? Are the Angels the only team shaking off the cobwebs and working off the rust from the offseason? But first, Mike, let's talk about the Cubs versus the Angels from Tempe yesterday.
Yeah, the Angels had a come-from-behind victory on Thursday. They defeated the Cubbies 5-4 in Tempe. So here's a first takeaway. Only 7 Ks and 4 walks.
Hey!
This was the single-digit strikeout day for the Angels, which is, I guess, a victory, right? Maybe some things are starting to click.
They had one the day before, too. And I think what's important is just like from the regulars in particular, right?
Yeah, 7 total Ks, but just 4 from the regulars. Trout and d'Arnaud each had 1, and then Yoan Moncada said, I got you, boo, and he had 2 strikeouts. And they had 4 walks, although only 1 was from a regular starter, and that was Moncada, which is just what he does right now. As he gets hot, then he starts to hit. But until then, he either strikes out or he walks. At least he's getting on base. Now, Nico Cavadas had 1 strikeout, and Oswald Peraza had 2 walks, which is two walks. Yes, sorry, 2 walks, which is good if he ends up as someone on the bench. He's got a good eye, and at least showed it in yesterday's game. And then Johnny Moncada, currently 0 for 8 with 6 strikeouts so far. Just feels like the timing's off for him.
Yeah, you watch him yesterday on the 2 strikeouts, and at each at bat, he saw fastballs first, and then he swung and missed at the off speed or the breaking stuff, swung and missed over a slider, swung and missed over a changeup after he sees, fastball. So it just feels like the timing isn't quite there. Mike Soriano took the mound for the second time, hoping to be better than his first start. The final line here was 3 innings pitched, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts on 59 pitches. I got to say, it felt like the command was better this time around. He was able to put the knuckle curve and the slider where he wanted it to go this time.
Yep.
There was a lot of stuff over the plate, and he certainly paid for that. And I'll talk about what he had to say in just a minute. But there were 2 doubles in the first that led to a run. And then one of those doubles, Trout misplayed it in left field. He was playing left yesterday. Sounds like from the radio, the description, it sounded like he lost it in the sun. So, which happens a lot to everybody in spring training.
Yeah, would have been great to see that. Would have been great to see that.
Oh, it took me a second what you're saying. Yeah. And then a leadoff double in the second and a single set up a sacrifice fly. Then another double, then an 8-pitch walk to Scott Kingery, of all people.
Yeah.
And then a hit by pitch that brought in a run. He did have a 1-2-3 inning in the 3rd inning. Soriano hit 100.5 miles an hour on the fastball. He hit 104 times in this game, something he only did 8 times all throughout last year. He told Jeff Fletcher of the OC Register, it means a lot because I'm healthy and can throw harder without trying to throw hard, and that's a good thing. I'm not focusing on that right now, just trying to focus on throwing strikes, and I think I was pounding the zone. I said I'd circle back to this, Mike. He definitely was pounding the zone. Do you think that's why there was so much contact? Is this an emphasis on, hey, I didn't hit the zone hardly at all last time. This time around, I'm going to come out there and just hit it as hard as I can, no matter what happens.
Pounding the zone the way that he was yesterday, and then he recognizes that, I think, is the reason why you saw a lot of hits and a lot of runs. I mean, it wasn't a really bad start, but I think what he was trying to work on is making sure that he's starting with strike one and then following it up with strike two. There's a lot that he is working on. Pounding the zone, I think, is the best way to describe it. And that's what he really needs to do, because he got into a lot of trouble last year if he walked somebody, and then he obviously was able to turn some double plays. But if those balls get through like they did in his first start, that could be a really a detrimental to José Soriano.
Yeah, that's the big difference, I think, in the walk that he gave up was an 8-pitch at bat, right? And it wasn't just 4 pitches out of the zone. So I think that was a significant step forward in the second time around for José Soriano.
Yeah. Third takeaway, the Angels had a rally in the 5th inning. Zach Neto and Mike Trout had back-to-back doubles in the 4th to get the Angels on the board. But it was the 5th inning where the Angels rallied. d'Arnaud got it started with a single. Peraza struck out. Then Mancini singled, and d'Arnaud went to third. And then Gustavo Campero snuck one just inside the line for a triple to score 2. And then spring training MVP from last year, Kyren Paris, got him home with a single, and Chris Taylor doubled and scored Paris. John, can I just really quickly go back to what I just read you? Okay. Here's what I read you. Double, and then single, then another single, then a triple, and then a single, and then a double. Like that. Those are the 2 innings of hitting for the Angels.
I want some in and out now. You talked me into it.
What's missing in what I just read there that they had last year? What's missing?
Home run.
Yes.
And this is a Neapolitan shake.
This is what we want. This is the type of hitting that can help the Angels be successful, and it puts the pitcher on his heels. And so I loved that they were making contact. I loved that they were just turning the lineup over. That's really what we want to see from our favorite team.
We saw it from Zach Neto and Mike Trout, but Mike, I got to ask you, now d'Arnaud's in there, which is great.
Yeah.
But everybody else who was doing this frenetic hitting, as we like to say, it was Trey Mancini, Gustavo Campero, Kyren Paris, Chris Taylor. Does it matter if it's not the starting regulars in the seat that are going to start 1 through 9 in the season, or do you think it's contagious? If we're seeing it with these guys, we're going to see it with a starting 9. What do you say?
Yeah, 2 thoughts. 1, I want to see it from the starters for sure. But 2, I think this just goes to show that there is a philosophy that they're buying into. And we said this on a couple shows ago, that the Angels as a club offensively, they buy into whatever philosophy is being pitched to them, thrown to them, so to speak. And they're doing it at least in the first few games of spring training. And the last 2 games having less than double-digit strikeouts is fantastic. And then having some of this contagious hitting is a good sign, even with like the Chris Taylors and the Gustavo Camperos. That's a good sign, because it's not just for the starters. It's rolling down the club, right? It's impacting the major league players and the minor league players.
The pitching held it the rest of the way. That's our 4th takeaway. Sam Aldigueri pitched 3 innings. He's gearing up for the WBC, Mike, so he's kind of stretched out further than the rest of the arms, but he did give up a run in the top of the 5th, but that was before the Angels rally. So once the Angels took the lead, Aldigueri had a 1-2-3-6th inning, and they struck out the side in the 7th inning. Mitch Ferris came in and finished the game, gave up just 1 walk in the 8th, and then 2 lineouts and a ground out to get out of that one. Struck out 2 in the 9th inning. And then before all that, Chase Silseth pitched the 4th inning and bounced back really nicely from his outing on Sunday. In this one, in the 4th inning, he got in there and he struck out 2. So big question before we move on, guys settling in at the plate and on the mound. I mean, again, a 4 strikeout day. You see all the frenetic hitting. You see Neto and Trout double, Silseth bouncing back. Does it still feel like guys are getting their groove out there?
Yeah, it does. I think that we had talked about, and I think we need to stick to it, like letting starters go 3 times through the rotation before we really evaluate them. I'd also like to see guys like Mitch Ferris and Sam Aldigueri do what they did yesterday against major league players and not just minor league players. Those numbers are great, but it was 6th inning, 7th inning, 8th inning, 9th inning. Chase Silseth did pitch in the 4th. He looked better, but that wasn't completely against major league hitters. However, it's great to see him bounce back because he did fall apart.
I think his fall apart, his blow up was not against major leaguers.
That's true.
On Sunday.
No, you're you're right.
We'll take that. We'll take that step forward. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Now, with the Angels finally getting their second win of spring, are they the only ones in spring training working off the rust here and trying to clear the cobwebs? We're going to talk about that and much more coming right up.
Opening day is almost here, and there's nothing like being in the ballpark for opening day. And they can't do it at Angel Stadium because they always start off on the road, but that's a whole other story. Now, that's why you need Game Time. At least Angels opening day for them, you can use Game Time. Game Time gives the fans the advantage with constant innovation. It's how you unlock amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. It's so simple to use, and the Game Time guarantee means that you're going to get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Here's the best part. The fees are included in the price that you see. So what you see is what you pay, period. End of the sentence right there. I love that. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. You can download their app, create an account, use our promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Some terms do apply. Again, create an account and use the promo code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network out there because of everydayers just like you. And time's running out. You can get a free month of the Everydayer Club. If you're here for every episode, you're commenting, you're sharing, you're talking, you're interacting with us. The Everydayer Club is just for you. There's a $5 tier. Again, for the rest of this week, it's free. You can get access to an ad-free version of the show on your favorite podcast platform. The members-only Discord access, which is great. National bonus shows from Locked On Sports, and then a members-only merch store. And then at the $15 level, again, which is free for the remainder of the week, you get everything at the member level plus all access episodes. We get together and we talk as fans together on there, one-on-one texting with me, so much more. So again, head on over to lockedonangels.supercast.com. Use the promo SPRING to get a free month of the Locked On Angels Everydayer Club. Time's running out, and we want you to be part of it.
We got a voicemail concerning what we've heard from the coaches about the Halos and how they're performing so far this spring training. So let's take a listen to that.
Hey guys, Jared from Anaheim. Got a question about the Angels and spring training games. I've heard you guys yourself and repeating coaches' explanations about slow start, take off the rust, etc. Pitchers get the adrenaline from their first game and things like that. Batters not having their swings ready quite yet because they haven't dialed it in. But why am I not seeing that from other teams? Other teams seem to be scoring runs. Other teams seem to be dealing on the mound. Why the difference? Isn't that indicative of a problem with the team and its talent? Thanks.
Wow.
Jared from Anaheim, thanks for your voicemail, my friend.
Yeah.
I felt a little pointed, Mike. I'm not going to lie. Is he right, though? Like, are we not seeing this from other teams? Does it feel like it's just the Angels having this problem with, getting their stuff right at the plate, getting their stuff right on the mound? Are they the only rusty team that's going on right now?
Well, two thoughts on this. One, I think that we watch the Angels a whole lot closer than we watch any other team. I would assume Jared does as well. Maybe he's a bit more baseball savvy and pays attention to other teams. But we are going to watch our team and be over evaluators of our team and what they're doing. It's interesting to be able to hear some of the conversations that other Locked On hosts have with other everydayers of other teams. It's a lot of the same things that we talk about on this show. People don't like their owner. People don't like how the GM made this decision. People don't like the fact that they're striking out a lot, or they're not making contact, or they're not hitting home runs. A lot of it is the same. And then they'll look at other teams and go, see, they're not doing it. And what we'll hear from other Locked On hosts is sometimes the Angels will come up and go, well, this is actually what the Angels are doing that this team should do, right? So I think that what happens in spring training specifically, but throughout the entire season, is that we're watching the Angels so closely as fans that when we look at other things that other teams are doing, it's like, well, why aren't we doing that? Now, I'll let you talk in just a second. I want to give you a second thought. The Tigers are 0-5. So it's not every team.
Yeah, I think the Cubs came into the same record as us yesterday too.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's not every team. In fact, the Tigers' numbers are not great. So scoring runs and doing really well. I'm not sure how deep you're looking at this, Jared, because it looks like from the numbers that I'm seeing, it looks like other teams are still kind of warming up this spring training.
I think that when you have a game like you did against the Dodgers, first game of spring training, the Dodgers didn't even have all of their regulars in there. And then it was just kind of a wallop, right? Like the Angels got walloped in that first game. I think that just kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And so I can understand that, like, the Angels' record isn't great, and some of these games are not turning out. The score is a little lopsided and whatnot. And you just wonder, like, where these bats are, where these pitchers are. I think today is a good example, or yesterday, I should say, is a good example of, like, José Soriano. What did he say? I just want to go out there and throw strikes because last time I didn't. And even though I gave up, was it 4 doubles and 3 runs? It was like, that's the side effect of, hey, I know what I'm going to do. When I go out there, I'm going to just try to hit the strike zone because last time I didn't. So I think that's an example of the kind of stuff that you see these guys working on and just really throwing the score out the window.
I think about what Logan O'Hoppe had to say and what Brady Anderson talked about when he talked about Logan O'Hoppe. O'Hoppe was looking for the perfect mechanical swing. And Brady Anderson said, not going to happen, bro.
Doesn't exist.
Not going to happen. Doesn't exist, right? And even Mark Tromo talked about that on Halo Territory. It just doesn't exist. And I think that what they're doing this spring, though, is they're working on things that Brady Anderson has helped them to see in their mechanics and stop doing the bad habit and start doing the good habit. Same thing with Mike Trout. Like, get both eyes on the ball instead of one eye on the ball. Turn your head, bro, and make sure that you're coming through. There's not this perfect swing that you're working on. And then when you talk about pitching, the pitching is the same way. Like, we want you to hit the strike zone. I'm sure Mike Maddox is like, throw strikes, bro. Throw strikes. Doesn't matter what the scoreboard is. Throw strikes. I want you to feel really confident. I want you to hit 100, Soriano, and do it free flowing. I want you to be able to feel really good about this start and how you were holding the pitches, gripping the pitches, and the control that you had.
We also have to consider, like, the rally the Angels had in the 5th, right? Great to see. Great that they were able to come from behind and win, but they did it against a Cubs rookie.
Yeah.
And it was also not the regulars. It was, Kyren Paris, Travis d'Arnaud, of course, he'll be a regular, but at the end of the day, it was guys that aren't the starting 9 on opening day for the most part. But you also have to consider who's been pitching for the Angels. Like, if you're going to make the argument in one direction, make the argument in the other direction, where it's like, yeah, the Dodgers beat up on Bob Sacamano from single A,
right.
that kind of thing. And
right.
And so that's not to make an excuse. It just says, hey, when you have success, look at who they're facing.
Yeah.
But then also do it the other direction. And just to maybe put a stamp on this conversation, I have Baseball Reference pulled up, and I believe these stats are updated as the latest as of this recording. Mike, do you want to know who the most famous MLB player in spring training and has the most at bats is? It's Roman Anthony, the number 1 prospect from baseball last year for the Red Sox. He's had 14 plate appearances.
Wow. Yeah.
and that's the top. So everybody who's had the most plate appearances so far in spring training, it's just 14.
Yeah.
And you go down, and by the way, Roman Anthony's hitting 154. He's got 2 hits and 3 runs scored and 1 RBI and 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. You go down a little bit further, the next recognizable name is Nick Sogard, and that's the old Braves shortstop who's now with Boston. I see Jackson Chourio on there. He's got 14 plate appearances, but a 182 batting average. Yeah. You go down further, and you got somebody like Josh Naylor, doesn't have a hit yet. So it goes to show when you look around the league. Hey, here we go. Byron Buxton. He's got 11 plate appearances, 2 hits. So he's got a 222 average. So I think if you just look around the league, you can see that, like, everybody's kind of at that point. I mean, I think Trevor Story has 6 plate appearances this spring. So I just don't think we've had enough runway in terms of spring to really make any judgment calls right now.
Yeah, let me get a little philosophical on you. There's, obviously bitterness in our hearts when it comes to the Angels and frustration, all fans, Jared included, I'm sure. And what can have a tendency to happen is that we have these presuppositions. We hear the stories of how this isn't a talented team, and we hear that they aren't really going to go anywhere and that it's just not going to be a successful year. And then we can look for anecdotal evidence for the presuppositions that we hold, right? And so you can go, these first, 6-7 games, they really scored some runs. It's got to be the talent, because that's what I've heard. I've heard everybody say it was the talent. And now these coaches and podcasters are saying, no, give them some time. No, it's got to be the talent, because that's what everybody is saying. That's what happens when you're frustrated with your team, and what happens when you're watching your team very closely and other teams not so close. You begin to go, well, here's the anecdotal evidence that this team isn't talented, when in reality, it's really spring training. It's really trying things out. It's really, hey, go out there and do this, see if it works. And if it doesn't, who cares what the scoreboard says? That's really what's happening right now.
The double that Zach Neto hit today is not going to matter in June, right? And I think that that's a big part of the conversation. These games matter more to us than I think they matter to the team, and not even just the Angels, but all the players out there are trying to get stuff done. Finally, I'll say this. Don't we have this conversation every year?
We do.
We have this conversation every year. Even before we were podcast hosts, I mean, we're having this conversation with other Angel fans. And even in the years that they were good, we're going, man, what are they doing out there? Why is Socha running out Kevin Jepsen to start a game? You know what I'm saying? And so we have these conversations. We go round and round with this every spring. So again, you're right, though. Like if you don't believe the talent's not going to be there, then everybody will use spring training as an excuse for, look what they did in spring training. On the other hand, the Angels have been the Cactus League champions several years in a row, and they still suck during the year. So again, take it all with a grain of salt. I think that's the most important part of this conversation.
When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Indeed sponsored jobs helps you to reach people who actually, get this, fit what you're looking for. And you're not just hoping that somebody, the right candidate, kind of just stumbles across your post. Here's a great stat that we've shared with you before on Locked On Angels. In about the minute that I've talked with you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners to Locked On Angels are going to get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Go there right now. Support our show. Say that you heard about Indeed on Locked On Angels. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions do apply. If you're looking to hire, man, let Indeed do it all for you at Indeed sponsored jobs.
Mike, yesterday when you left me all alone and I had to do the show by myself and I was lonely and sad. No, I had a good time. It was fun. I just clicked right through it and didn't even think about you. No, that's
great. Thanks.
When I did the show yesterday, I talked about George Klassen and his start against the Padres. Mm-hmm. I said that Klassen could be a future ace, and I felt like I explained why. There were a lot of qualities that he demonstrated on the mound, not only as he was taking on like the Padres regular team, other than maybe Ty France, but he showed me a lot of smart things that pitchers do. And for me, that's the making of an ace. That's something that I don't always think you can teach. It's just kind of inherent. Now, it seems like something you should be able to teach. And people get better and become better pitchers along the way. But some of the feedback I got was, hey, John, slow your roll. It was 2 innings. Don't get all excited. And I hear you, and I totally understand that. But what I'm saying there is like when you have a foundation to build upon, like Klassen has that foundation. And I think he demonstrated that in the 2 innings of work that he got against the Padres. on Wednesday. Now, I'm going to throw this to you because I know this person is somebody that you've been a fan of from the very beginning. I want to talk about the differences between someone like George Klassen and then somebody like Reid Detmers and Detmers' potential to become an ace. What do you say?
Yeah. First, I'm never letting you do the show by yourself again. You're saying stupid stuff, man. No, I'm kidding. No, I think I agree with you. I liked your points on George Klassen and why he's a up and coming ace. Here's the big difference that I see in a Reid Detmers versus a George Klassen. They have really good stuff, like ridiculously good stuff. And we've said it on the show multiple times, but like, I think Taylor Blake Ward and Jared Timms from Talking Halos both said like, he's the key to this rotation. And if he can figure it out, man, this rotation could take off because Reid's got that stuff. Mm-hmm. Here's the difference. And I know it was 2 innings and I know that it was, he hasn't really been in the majors at all. He's been in the minor leagues, but what you see in George Klassen is everything you want up here in the mind, up here in the head. He has got the mentality of a bulldog, of an ace. And you don't see him really thrown by much. You don't see him like thrown by if he gets a ball that or a strike that's called a ball or
bases loaded situation that he got out of.
Yeah. He is a guy that doesn't seem to get in the few starts that I've seen him in the minor leagues, and then of course the one in spring training. He's a guy that really looks like he's got it up here. Now, some scouts have said that he probably would be more of a back of the bullpen guy because of his stuff.
Yeah.
He's got some work to do there.
It's all mechanically too. Like it's stuff that you worry about as a starter. And so you wonder if somebody can come along and help him fix that stuff. Right.
Yeah. And that's what you hope for. But truthfully, like if he brought what he brought to his start a couple days ago, he brings that to his next start. And as he becomes a Major League Baseball player, like that's a really good sign. So what you were saying is I'm excited about that. The truth is that there's always going to be somebody that's going to, be the anti to your thetical, right? Like they're going to be you're going to be you're the die to your dichotomy or whatever. Like they're going to be the opposite of you. There'll be some that you'll be like, that guy's he's crappy. No, give him time. Oh, that guy's really great. No, give him time. Like that's the same answer every single time, right?
And I don't think I felt anything like that. I think what I felt was just like, just be careful because obviously you can't predict the future with any of these guys. But what I think I'm trying to say here is I almost cut you off because you said what George Klassen has up here. And I said, I was going to say, we've never seen from Reid Detmers up here. Like what George Klassen has in his head and his mentality is something that I've never seen Reid Detmers have. Maybe he'll get it after being in the bullpen. And we've talked about, can he take that bullpen mentality to the starting rotation? But Mike, since Detmers was, what was he, 22, 23 when he first got called up? And that's a whole other part of the conversation Detmers being called up like way too early and figuring it out at the major league level. But I will say this. I think the difference between a Klassen and a Detmers is that the mentality for an ace is the foundation of what makes an ace.
Yeah.
Mentality. And I don't think I've seen ace mentality from Reid Detmers. I've seen ace stuff. I've seen an ace slider. I've seen an ace curveball, right? Like I've seen all that stuff.
Yeah.
He's got the tools, but does he have the know-how? Does he know how to build it when the time comes?
And that's, I think, the difference between these two, because with somebody like a George Klassen, and again, we've only seen a little bit of him, and especially in the major leagues, and it's just been at spring training this year.
Yeah.
But with George Klassen, there's something about him that tells you like he's already thinking ahead. He's already processing what he's going to do next. And isn't it true, John, that the guys that they have brought in over the last couple of years, whether via trade or through the draft, are just so mentally different than the guys they drafted and traded for before Perry Minasian got here. And that's where I think Perry has actually won, even though a lot of these guys haven't turned out the way that we would hope for. They did move them quickly through the minor leagues. They've drafted mentally tough guys that know what they need to do on the mound and then go out and do it. You've heard from Sam Aldeguerri and even Jack Kohanowitz, who said, I know what I need to work on. Now it's just a matter of actually seeing that turn into performance. And what I saw from George Klassen was, okay, I know what I need to do, especially when I got that bases loaded. I'm in a whole lot of trouble. What do I need to throw here? I'm listening to my catcher and I'm making sure I trust him, but I'm also recognizing like, I got to make sure that this hits the zone. I got to make sure that this hits the corner. And then when it comes to Reid Detmers, even in moments where he has the potential of learning, it feels like once that moment's over, he hits reset again. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
He hits the reset button on his mind, and then he forgot what he did. And I don't mean to be judgmental or negative about him. I don't want to throw down any sort of disrespect on his name, but that's what you receive as a fan from somebody like Reid Detmers. Man, you're crushing it in the bullpen, and then you move to the starting rotation, and then you're kind of back to where you were. Like, did you not remember like what happened? You flushed that away. You literally flushed that away. There's some things that you have to keep tattooed across your forehead, Reid, and then apply it again when you go back out there to start.
Yeah, we'll see how he does in his next start. And then, of course, when the season actually gets here, and I'm sure that he's going to have success. I don't have any doubt about that. But when you think about, I don't know, guys like Jared Weaver, who was our ace for a real long time, my favorite Angel, the mentality, they ooze it, Mike.
Yeah,
it just radiates off of them. The aura, as the kids say, like they have that. And I think that Jared Weaver had that ace aura. And I think George Klassen can have that. Again, I just read a scouting report from Fangraphs on George Klassen. They had all kinds of stuff to say about his mechanics and his delivery and where he lands and all of that stuff. But that's coachable.
Yeah.
Right. That's somebody like Mike Maddox can come along and be like, hey, don't do that. Or, hey, you need to do this more.
Right.
That stuff's coachable. Now, do they absorb it and take it with them and do something with it? That's on the player. But I think Klassen has the mindset and the mentality to be able to do that and iron out the mechanic stuff that might hold him back from being a front of the rotation guy. But at the end of the day, I'll go back to my main point. When you have a foundation for an ace, it usually starts with mentality. And what we saw in just 2 innings from George Klassen, I think demonstrates that he has an ace mentality.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Make sure to like and subscribe and follow Locked On Angels so that you get all of the latest episodes. And if you never miss an episode, you're perfect for the Everydayer Club. Get Locked On Angels ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and so much more. And just a couple of days remaining, you can use the promo code SPRING and get a free month of the Everydayer Club just as a gift from Locked On Angels to you. Head to lockedonangels.supercast.com to join the club.
Be sure you give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Of course, it's the weekend. We've got some games. Mike, what are we doing when we get back on Monday?
Yeah, we're going to share our takeaways from those games this weekend, and we're going to look deep into each of those games. We have a couple of people with boots on the ground in Arizona right now that are going to be giving us some updates and telling us what they see, since we can't see it ourselves and only can hear it. But we're going to share all of those details on Monday on Locked On Angels.
All right. We hope you have a great weekend, and we're looking forward to that. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
All right, all you sickos who love this team and all the everydayers who love to watch and listen, we'll see you back here on Monday.
Good news is that the Angels have some depth, so they don't have to throw George Klassen into the majors just yet, which I think is wise.